Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today, we are really digging into the idea of leadership success. We've got some challenging material here.
Yeah, sources that really push back against the usual metrics,
Yeah.
performance, ambition.
Exactly. And instead, they focus on something pretty countercultural, leading through grace, dependence, and humility.
It's a big shift in thinking.
It really is. And it starts with this observation, this paradox that feels so true right now.
What's that?
Well, the louder leadership gets, more visible, more platforms, the emptier it kind of feels sometimes.
Like we're gaining visibility.
But losing depth, losing real weight, actual impact.
Yeah, that resonates. And that sets up our deep dive perfectly. We're trying to unpack what the source is called the untapped advantage.
Okay.
The thing that separates that flashy, maybe short-term influence from, lasting impact.
Right.
And the core question that keeps coming up is, well, what if the strength we're all chasing, that self-made go-it-alone strength?
What if that's not actually the strength we need?
Exactly. What if it's something else entirely?
And the sources suggest this really radical idea about measuring greatness.
They do. It's not about how high you climb, not the usual ladder.
No, it's measured in how low they're willing to bow.
That specific choice, the humble posture, dependence.
And they call that the most revolutionary act of leadership for our time. Not climbing, but bowing.
But provocative, a total reframing.
Okay, so let's unpack that. We probably need to start with the problem, right? This cultural obsession we have.
The self-made leader.
Yes. That archetype, it's everywhere. Silicon Valley, politics, the person who supposedly did it all themselves. Sheer grit, force of will.
That narrative is powerful.
And the sources trace it back, don't they? Through history.
Yeah, back to the Enlightenment, the individual, then the Industrial Revolution.
The lone titan of industry.
Leading right into modern capitalism, individualism.
Yeah.
It sells a dream of ultimate control.
But the material argues it's fundamentally misleading and costly.
Incredibly costly. And there's a hidden seduction to it.
How so?
Well, we want to believe we're in total control, totally competent. If I made myself, I don't need anyone else.
Right. The appeal of ultimate self-reliance.
But chasing that illusion, that leads to what the sources call the crushing burden of the crown.
The burden of the crown. I like that phrase. It feels heavy.
It is. And it's spiritual, too, not just psychological.
Okay.
From the Christian perspective in these sources, trying to be self-sufficient is, well, it's a denial of our dependence on God.
It ignores that core idea.
Exactly. Like Jesus' words, apart from me, you can do nothing. Trying to be your own source is operating outside that reality.
And this striving, this denial, it has real practical consequences for leaders, right? It actually sabotages influence.
Absolutely. The material points to 4 specific ways this happens,
Right.
4 key costs.
Let's break those down. What's the first one?
The most obvious, perhaps, pride and arrogance.
Okay. Believing your own press release, basically.
Yeah, started to think you are the full architect of success. Forgetting gifts, opportunity, others.
Mm-hmm.
Just seeing your own effort.
And that naturally leads to the second cost.
Burnout and exhaustion. It has to. If you think it all rests on you.
The workload becomes impossible. You can't sustain it.
Right. We've all seen leaders like that, trying to control every single detail because they think only they could do it right. That's the burden crushing them.
Makes sense. What's number 3?
Isolation. This one's subtle but damaging.
Not just being alone in the office.
No, it's deeper. It's that inability to truly trust, to delegate things that matter, to show any vulnerability.
Because you're afraid it'll expose that you're not actually self-made, that you have weaknesses.
Precisely. It starves the leader and limits the whole team, the whole organization.
Wow. Okay. And a fourth cost?
Spiritual dryness. If you're constantly succeeding or feel like you are through your own strength, your own smarts,
Then the need to connect deeply with God, it just fades.
it can diminish, yeah. Prayer might become a task, not a lifeline. You rely on your own strategies instead of seeking divine guidance.
So that whole performance-driven, self-sufficient model leads to being weary, anxious, isolated, and spiritually kind of empty.
That's the picture painted by the sources, yes.
Yeah. So if that's the problem, what's the solution? How do we lead differently?
The core answer is leading with grace. Anchoring your influence in purpose, not just performance.
Moving away from that constant pressure of metrics, sales, growth, numbers,
Yeah,
the siren song, as they call it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because chasing those metrics leaves leaders, as you said, weary, anxious, spiritually hollow. Grace offers a different compass.
How does it do that? How does it change things practically?
Well, it frees you from that constant gnawing fear of failure. Your value isn't tied only to the immediate result.
Okay.
And the sources outline three sort of foundational shifts, three ways to redefine success beyond just numbers.
What are they?
First, success is impact, not image.
Your meaning.
Meaning it's measured by the actual difference you make in people's lives, not by your title or how impressive you look.
Got it. Impact over image. What's the second?
Second, success is human-centered, not self-centered.
So the people you lead aren't just tools for your own advancement.
Exactly. They're seen as a sacred trust, people to be nurtured, developed, cared for, not stepping stones.
That's a huge shift in perspective. And the third one?
Third, and this ties it all together, success is purpose, not performance.
Okay, explain that. Leadership surrendered to a higher purpose.
It gains a kind of weight, a substance that no amount of spotlight or external validation can replicate.
It's not just a nice idea, is it? It has real grounding.
Absolutely. When you operate from that place, knowing the mission is bigger than your personal reputation.
You're not constantly terrified of failing.
Right. You focus on being faithful, on doing the right thing according to that purpose. You trust that God's ultimately in control, like Proverbs says. The Lord works out everything to its proper end.
That belief changes everything. It brings stability.
It really does. It steadies your whole approach.
So, intellectually, the shift is from performance to purpose. What about practically? What does the posture of grace look like in a leader?
Well, a key behavior is humility,
Mm-hmm.
but not in a weak sense.
How do the sources define it?
As the discipline of power rightly directed. It's about controlling your power, not denying it.
And one way that shows up is listening.
Active listening, yes. Which feels almost radical in today's world, doesn't it?
It really does. Everyone's broadcasting, shouting, the idea of being quick to listen, slow to speak, like James says. It's hard.
It is incredibly hard.
So what's the payoff? Why hold back and really listen?
It's fundamentally an act of respect. Humility in action. True listening means patience, resisting that urge to jump in with your own reply while someone's still talking.
We all do that, formulating our response instead of absorbing.
We do. But the sources argue that the future belongs to leaders who listen deeply rather than dominate conversations.
Why? Because dominance pushes people away.
It creates resistance, exactly, whereas listening builds trust. It uncovers insights you'd otherwise miss.
Okay, that makes sense. Listening builds trust. That leads nicely into another contrast the sources make. Quiet authority versus noisy ambition.
Yes, this is a fascinating distinction.
Because isn't quiet authority easily mistaken for, weakness? Especially in really competitive places, like you're not driven enough.
It's a potential misunderstanding, for sure. But the difference is the source of the authority.
Okay.
Quiet authority isn't about volume or self-promotion. It's rooted in character, in that dependence we talked about. Think of Jesus. His authority came from who he was, not just what he did or how loud he was.
So quiet leaders exercise restraint.
Strategic restraint, yes. They know when to speak, but crucially, they also know the power of silence, letting others process, contribute, shine.
And how does that compare to noisy ambition?
Noisy ambition often springs from insecurity, wouldn't you say? From fear.
Fear of being overlooked, losing control.
Exactly. So the noisy leader feels they have to interrupt, assert dominance, fill every silence. They need constant validation from the room.
Whereas the quiet leader, being rooted differently,
Provides a kind of calm, a measured composure. It reassures people because the leader isn't desperately seeking approval. They set the vision, then trust the team in the process.
Okay. Moving towards our final section now, we need to tackle that typical business mindset about power.
The zero-sum game.
Yeah. The idea that if I help someone else rise, it somehow diminishes my own position, that raising others is a threat.
The sources strongly reject that. Completely. They talk about the multiplicative power of shared leadership.
Okay. Like multiplying influence instead of hoarding it.
Precisely. Look at the examples Moses and the elders. Jesus sending out the disciples. Paul constantly working with companions.
They weren't lone rangers.
No. They understood that influence grows when you invest in others and actually release them to lead.
So the goal changes from just holding power yourself.
To mentoring through humility instead of hierarchy. It's not about creating mini-me's, clones of yourself.
It's about fostering the other person's unique gifts, their own identity.
Exactly. It's stewardship. You're intentionally helping future leaders step into their full potential.
Which requires real humility from the mentor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the sources say the ultimate sign of this kind of leadership is being willing. actually wanting.
To see them surpass you.
Yes, to see them go further than you did. That's the measure of real multiplicative impact. If you're secretly afraid of being overshadowed, that noisy ambition is still there.
That's a high bar. Let's talk about handling the spotlight, praise, and criticism. It's such a roller coaster. If you're depending on God, how do you handle, say, a huge compliment for a team's success?
This is so practical for building healthy teams. The key is to deflect glory, elevating God, but do it genuinely, not with false modesty.
So don't just brush it off like, oh, it was nothing.
No. Accept the praise graciously. A simple thank you is fine, but immediately pivot the attention.
How?
Share the credit generously and specifically with the team. Name people. Detail their contributions. Show how they were essential.
So it's not false modesty, it's honest attribution.
Exactly. It reinforces that success was collaborative, that you depend on the team and ultimately on something beyond the team. It builds real loyalty, not just sucking up.
Okay, so bringing this all together for the listener. Someone out there leading a team, a project, a family, what's the core takeaway?
I think it's that true leadership, the kind with lasting impact, requires integrating competence with character, integrating ambition with surrender.
It's not about getting louder or faster.
No. The breakthrough comes from that radical choice we started with. The choice to stand lower, to serve.
And the final challenge, the call to action.
It's about embracing what the sources call the practice of the paradox.
Okay, practice of the paradox. What does that mean day to day?
It means reframing those everyday interruptions and frustrations.
Like when you need to stop and listen, or let someone else take the credit, or serve someone junior to you.
Yes. Instead of seeing those as distractions from your real work or your goals,
See them
as divine invitations to practice low-stance leadership. Opportunities right there in the middle of your messy day to choose humility, service, dependence.
So the frustrating parts of the day become the training ground.
Exactly. It makes your leadership practice continuous, integrated into real life. It builds that steady, deep, quiet strength.
Okay. So our final thought for you, the listener, to maybe wrestle with.
The ultimate measure of your impact. It won't be the applause, will it? Or the titles on your door.
No, it'll be the legacy that only God can really write.
The kind that only surrendered leaders carry. A legacy built not on commanding everyone around,
But on the quiet, often unseen, courage to serve.